Is the 4-hour Zack Snyder cut of Justice League actually worth the time to watch it? Yes.
Intro?
That's my opinion at least. And if you're interested in why, welcome to this video. This will be a short comparison. I'll try to keep it relatively spoiler-free of the two films, and I've made a numbered list of the most significant changes, I feel. Pardon the stepping feet, but Kira is walking around. So, number one, let's get it out of the way. There is no Superman gummy removed mustache fake face lip. There is none of that. However, this movie's effects are somewhat inconsistent. I feel there are some moments which were rushed or maybe just weren't, given the full budget, the full treatment. Particularly the opening sequence, which has some CGI, is slightly rubbery, but I don't feel it takes away from the experience, especially since the most important things, some of which I will mention later, do hold up. Like Cyborg holds up, Steppenwolf hold up, the fight sequences hold up. So, that's great. Number two, why 4 hours? The most significant difference is a difference in pacing. I feel that Justice League Whedon feels like an Avenger film, but also like a very quick Avenger film. There is no break, that the camera doesn't settle. There are no moments to just take a breath and take things in. We all know that both these films take place after Superman's death. So the Whedon cut, the previous cut, cannot really afford to linger in grief, cannot afford time to be sad about the fact, and the whole world is supposedly, grieving. So after the opening grief sequence, it settles into the typical, rather jokey, quick-witted, but not really, just a regular superhero film. But the Zack Snyder cut takes its time, and it's like that's pacing and tone both. Whedon cut is very quick and just doesn't let you breathe. Zack Snyder cut gives you time to process your emotion, and when Whedon relies on quippy one-liners, but they're bad jokes overall, definitely bad jokes in Whedon cut. Zack Snyder, I feel, relies on a witty dialogue, so it's not funny that you're rolling the ground, but it's witty and it's amusing, that was witty, Alfred, or whatever. That's the difference. Apart from, I can't really think of examples of the jokes because they were too stupid, but I will mention one Snyder cut joke later, which will be relevant to something else. And also, because of the pacing and lack of time, Whedon cut, it feels like it should be building up tension, but it just stays flat all the time. Whereas the Snyder cut rises and falls down in the energy and stress level. Key difference. There are also no info dumps, or things don't feel as info dumpy in Zack Snyder cut, because in the Whedon cut you need to receive information quickly and efficiently, and the Snyder cut gives you time for backstories, and you see the longer montages of past events that are going to be relevant. Oh, and one more thing, there is way more slow motion in the Snyder cut, but in a way that works to its advantage, because there is a balance between the quick fight and the slow motion. So you can just sometimes, linger on a movement, and sometimes it's very quick, just better pacing. Point number 3, which I feel is the most relevant, which is characters. How were they treated in the Whedon versus Snyder cut? So let's start with Diana. I thought that I was going to record this with the hairbrush and then do the voiceover, but no. So there was a lot of criticism of the treatment of Diana within the Whedon cut, because in the original Wonder Woman film, Diana of course is wearing this skimpy outfit and is wearing also high heels, or more like wedge heels, doesn't matter. There is inherently some icky things about Diana's portrayal. You can argue that it's not very empowered, you could say. But in the movie, they managed to treat it in a way that makes sense. And in the Whedon cut, the camera work is very upskirty and gross. There are 5 shots that start with Diana's butt. She wears 5 different more costumes, but she wears 5 combos of a leather or a tight top and leather leggings, and that's when you get the, butt shots. Also, the Amazons are just filmed in a way that clings more to their bodies, and you can tell because in the Snyder cut, it just doesn't work that way. Also, the costumes are more interesting. They are still, of course, feminine and beautiful, but they don't really cater that much to the male gaze. I mean, Gal Gadot is always going to be beautiful, but if you dress her in leggings and tight tops all the time, I feel like you are being creepy. But if you sometimes put her in different types of dresses and skirts, it just works better. She's treated with more respect in the Snyder cut. Moreover, she gets this lovely theme, like of a choral music, so every time she does something interesting or she's introduced, there is this choral music which is very nice to hear. I don't think anybody else has a theme, so it's a lot like door opens and it's Diana there, but I promise you it's not as nasty as I might make it seem. Character 2 is Batman. So Batman in the Whedon cut is awkward. He's a bumbling fool who's clearly crushing on Diana. There is some maybe romantic tension in the Snyder cut, but in the Whedon cut he makes stupid faces, he makes jokes, he's clearly jealous of Diana's long dead lover, so he's just a bit pathetic. That's how I would call it. He's very memeable, but he's pathetic, and there he's more of a respectable middle-aged guy. He still jokes a bit and doesn't take himself that seriously. He has more emotional range in the Snyder cut, feels things more deeply. You can feel his grief better in the Snyder cut, I feel, because you can't feel anyone's grief in the Whedon cut because there is no time for it. I also want to mention Alfred, who in Whedon cut was, again, this joking, witty character. In the Snyder cut, he's brought down, and in the sense that he's more serious and more the classic butler that we have. He still banters a bit with Bruce, but he's just not... Everybody has the same stupid, except for Diana, sense of humor in the Whedon cut, and in the Snyder cut they don't. They are each witty and have a different type of sense of humor, I feel. Whedon's Aquaman is very much a dude bro. He's a lot, hell yeah man, damn.
Alright. Slow down!
Looking good.
My man!
Wow, and that kind of thing. And in Zack Snyder cut, I think he's given a little bit less attention, but Atlantis gets more screen time, and there are also deleted Atlantis scenes and dialogues which weren't there in the Whedon cut, which they just give more backstory and more flavor to the film. I don't know what... Cyborg, no, he gets more screen time in the Zack Snyder cut. There is a whole backstory and a very important plot point with Cyborg and his father. He's way more relevant. And I don't know how many people were upset that he's not that important in the Whedon cut, but here he's way more relevant to the story. He has this mind palace. We spend time with him. We discover his powers with him. There is more backstory montage as well, and it's different in each movie. So yeah, again, like every single thing will be better in the Zack Snyder cut. Like, spoiler, it's better.
So Flash is similar in both films. However, there is more time spent on his backstory. That we have whole new backstory sequences which weren't showed in the Whedon cut.
And he's given more emotional depth. You can feel that Ezra Miller was given a chance in the Whedon cut.
He was given a chance to just improvise some jokes, But in the Snyder Cut, that dialogue was clearly more scripted, and while he still gets some one-liners, it doesn't seem so out of place, because in the Whedon cut, he has to get an word in edgewise all the time. But in the Snyder Cut, he's a part of the dialogue.
Superman is there, and he's actually a Superman, and he's really done justice. He's a cool character for once. You really feel like he's this all-powerful godlike being. His powers are utilized better. They legitimately look cool. And Lois and his mom, like Lois and Martha, also are portrayed better because they are showed as grieving women with some sort of agency and time and a place, and it makes sense that they are where they are on the time-space continuum, whereas they just felt slightly shuffled in. They just pushed in the Whedon cut. Especially Lois's arrival was kind of contrived, and in the Snyder cut it was established why she was there. So point number 4, which is team dynamics. They are there. Whedon, I think, did Avengers. I don't feel like checking, but I feel he did Avengers. And if you pay attention to the Avengers films, they don't really have a relationship dynamic as a team. They just are pushed together. They barely know each other. In the first film, Tony and Steve actually dislike each other. They might have some joking. In general, they aren't a family as they are in the comics most of the time. And in the Snyder Cut, they aren't there yet, but you do get a sense that they are becoming a team, and you have time, so they establish a certain rapport. They establish a way in which they can fight together and interact together. Team dynamics, Team Snyder. Point number 5. I kind of struggle to focus on the music, but because of the Diana theme and in general slowing down sometimes, because the typical action movie music is this just like build up of tension, which is like without a release. Here there are quiet moments. It's nice. Okay, so point number, what is it? 5? No, point number 6, I think. Which is there are some power inconsistencies. It feels like Diana loses and gains some strength from time to time, and Barry also, but it doesn't really matter. There are some tiny inconsistencies. There's also the inconsistency that, the Atlantis people have a British accent, all of them. They didn't keep it in Aquaman. Mera's hair is not red, but more of a strawberry blonde. That kind of stuff. Point 7, Steppenwolf, so the villain. He's completely different. His face changed. He has, I think, smaller chin. His armor is not this Viking-like medieval stuff. It's actually an iridescent, reactive armor of spikes. He also has different hands and feet, because his hands in Zack Snyder Cut have 8 fingers, and his feet have just 2 toes, like those Balenciaga boots. And in the Whedon cut, he's just a horny guy. And my last point is, the film does take 4 hours. However, you can easily shave off 10 minutes of your experience. At 3 hour 50-minute mark, there is epilogue. And in the epilogue, there is the footage to be later used in the Zack Snyder version of the Justice League universe. It's shuffled there, and some of the elements make sense, but there is this whole scene in the would-be hypothetical future or alternative universe. Joker is there. Skip it. I feel that everything in this movie I liked, or at least I was ambivalent about. I hated the epilogue. I absolutely hated spending my time with Joker, but I also am biased against Joker because he sucks as a villain. He's just not deep, it sucks. So you can shave the whole future sequence, that's 5 minutes, and then you're back into the epilogue. In general, the epilogue bits, some of them were in the Whedon cut, most of them are new. I don't feel they bring a lot to the table. There is a scene with in the epilogue with Diana looking into the distance, not going to describe the circumstances, that's where I would end my movie. So that's 3 hours and 50 minutes, no, less, 3 hours and 40 minutes, I believe, not 4 whole hours of content that I do recommend. I hope this was informative and that you liked it. I sincerely, like, if you enjoy DC Universe, just go watch it. And if you enjoy spending time with me, consider subscribing or commenting, or my social media are linked in the description box, and my dogs as well. Thanks, and bye-bye. I'm going to mention one joke, as I said I would, which was in the Snyder cut. Yes, in the Snyder cut there was a joke where Barry says that Wonder Woman is beautiful and would she give a chance to a younger guy, and Cyborg goes, ho ho ho, she's 5,000 years old, everybody's younger than her. And I've seen some people salty about this joke in this more, you know, Wonder Woman empowering movie, but I don't actually mind it. That's the kind of joke I think you are allowed to make about a beautiful woman who've been around for millennia. It doesn't really take any dignity away from her. You feel me? That's an okay joke. Like, I laughed and didn't feel bad about it. It's not, I don't feel, an objectifying joke in any way. That's a good joke. Is it funny? Not now that I explained it, but it's funny in the movie. I also totally forgot that I wanted to mention that Steppenwolf's boxes are kind of called Mother in the Whedon series. And in the Zack Snyder cut, they are called Unity, which I think is fun.